Okay, so I just got done watching The Perfection, and this is a movie I haven't seen since it came out on Netflix in 2019. And what I remember of this movie is I remember thinking it was very graphic, and like I left the movie very disturbed with some of the scenes in the movie that I just saw. And while some of what I remember of this movie isn't quite true, like I remember, remember this was like 2 years ago. Like I watched this movie, and I remember the rape themes being a lot more prevalent throughout this movie. I just remember it being a lot more on screen, and like that's not at all like the as far as that rape story goes. Like it is a big part of how it all kind of ties in together, but it's really only there for like two scenes. It's maybe there for a maximum of 5 minutes, maybe, and then they go on to something else. And which I think that was a great writing move, because since like this subgenre of horror, this whole rape revenge, genre of horror, like I can't really get into. That's not, at least for me personally, like I don't watch horror like to see that stuff. I don't care to see that stuff in my horror movies. So like I'm kind of better off without that. But I thought the way it was done in this movie, it made for a really unique story here. Um, and I thought the way it was executed was extremely well done. Which, speaking on writing, the twist in this movie, I think this is two of my favorite twists. Like I've never seen a form of, of storytelling like this before. In the way where you see one story, and the first version of the story that you're seeing is the untold. So it's left a lot of those questions, like unanswered, and then once you get to a specific point, it rewinds like 5 minutes, and you see that whole sequence play out again, but this time with expositional dialogue, with answered questions. And that's a lot of the twists in this movie. I thought that was a very unique way of editing this film. I thought it was a unique way of writing this film. And both these twists I think are really well done. The first one is the main character drugging her friend, um, which hallucinates bugs in her arm, and you find out that that never happened. That instead of giving her like headache tablets, she actually gave her her hallucinating drugs that made her see those bugs. So in her own mind, she was seeing it, and then her friend was just kind of playing along because she knows the side effects of this drug. And I thought that was a great first twist, and then it sets up the second half of the movie extremely well as well, where the second twist of the movie is she cut off her hand, not because she wanted to be famous, not because she wanted all the money and the fame and like everyone around her praising her and her music and paparazzi and autographs and all of that. Like she never cared shit about that. She cared about saving her friend from the headmaster of this academy, or the father of this company, in other words. And that made so much sense to me, because on one hand we have one character who has been at this academy for like 20 odd years, and then we have one character that has maybe been there for, it's never explained in the movie, but 10 years at best. And so we have one who has lived through this, and who has seen the worst that this academy has to offer. Then we have one that has experienced it, but not to the degree that this other character has. And I thought that was such a great twist, because it made that relationship, because this movie plays with audiences' expectations, which is always fun in a horror movie. And these two twists, to me, do that so well, where you see one side of the story where it's actually what the audience thinks, but then there's a kind of a different perspective where it's showing truth behind it, showing showing friendship. So at heart of this movie is about friendship. It's about saving the other person from torture, from from the harassment, from the rape that this academy does to young girls and older girls. And I loved both of these twists. I thought they were so well executed. I thought they made for a really entertaining is the wrong word, for a really interesting story, and it made for some really cool sequences in the movie. And another thing I liked in this movie is the blood and gore. While this movie isn't chock a block of blood and gore, there are some scenes in this movie where it is pretty bloody. Like there's the scene at the end where where our second main character gets a knife through her arm, and and he's dragging it down, and you see it like cut through her skin and all that. Like that's a really gruesome scene. But for the most part, all of the blood in this movie is off screen. Like there are a few shots where you do see it, and when you do see it, it is very gruesome. But for the most part, you see a lot of the aftermath of the blood and gore, but yeah, you never really see it, because like the third act, it's more, there's a lot of like first person stuff where you're seeing them actually butcher him with a knife and stab him with a knife, but you're not actually seeing the knife go into him. And like, while I can see why the director chose to shoot it that way, like, I mean, I was fine with the amount of blood that we got, because this isn't really the type of story or let alone movie where blood is really required. This isn't like a really bloody film. This is more of a friendship done right, I think would be the best word. And yeah, I really enjoyed this movie a lot more. And while I don't like all of the rape themes, I can see why the movie like had them in there. I can see that does play a big part into why our main character is doing what she's doing, and why she's doing what she has to do to save her friend, even though that might mean losing an arm or losing a hand. Sorry. It's all for the best at the end of the day. And just I really like this story. I think there's a lot of heart in this story. I think there's some great characters like in this movie. I think there's some great direction, some great writing, some great editing. Like there's great set design. This movie has a really good score that's suitable for this kind of movie. But yeah, like I enjoyed this movie quite a bit. I enjoyed this movie probably more than I remember when I watched it, back in 2019. So yeah, I really enjoyed this movie. If you haven't seen The Perfection, let me know down in the comments. What did you think of it? Did you like it? Did you think it was mad, or did you really not like it? Let me know all your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section down below. So anyways, guys, I hope you have a good rest of your day, evening, or night, or wherever you are, and I'll see you in the next video. Alright, bye.